All right, so Mr. Uche Onyeagocha joins us here this morning. He is the former secretary to the Imo State government. He's also a former member of the House of Representatives, lawyer, and the pro-democracy rights activist. Good morning. Thank you for coming on today.
Good morning, sir.
Quite an interesting scenario. Several calls that the patriots are seeking with the president, who says himself, look, I have to get the economy up and running first, then I can look at this. But it's not the first time we know that this kind of call is coming through. So first of all, for you, the propriety or otherwise of that call, because many will think, well, look, can anything new come out of this call? Because you had this before. And so coming up at this time, what can come out of this? What do you think of it so far? In the first instance first.
I am certain that something good can come out of it, because we have shown from the delegation of the patriots that more and more people have come to the realization and acceptance that what we have in 1999 Constitution is a rogue constitution. On June 12 this year, at the June 12 conference, Anyaoku spoke on behalf of the patriots, and he said it very clear that the 1999 Constitution, with all the amendments in it, is illegitimate. So they have come to that realization that we cannot continue to run this rogue constitution. And it is high time we set it aside and make a people's constitution.
For you as a lawyer,
yes,
what is wrong with it?
Everything is wrong with it. When Abdul Salam Abubakar came into power, it was by accident following the death of Abacha. He was scared stiff and he wanted to run away as quickly as he could. And then what did he do? He generated this document wherein he wrote in very clear terms, we, the people of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, having firmly and solemnly resolved. Who are the people? Who resolved with him? Who are these people? But the truth is that what brought this 1999 Constitution into life was not this we, the people, which they want to hang on to. The truth is that what brought it to life was Decree number 24 of 1999. And the decree cannot bring a constitution to life. So the decree exposed the fact that it wasn't the people who made this constitution. Tinubu knows this. Every other person knows it. What we are lacking is the willpower to set this constitution aside and make for ourselves a people's constitution wherein all the federating units would now make their submission as to how we should move the country forward.
There is one key call that came up in the last kind of Constituent-Assembly that we had that they didn't agree with, resource control. But let me leave that for a moment. You were in the House of Reps,
yes,
in the National Assembly.
Yes.
So did it ever come up? Why is it that there isn't any position, any initiative, or at least we can't have a referendum yet on anything?
Well, the issue is not just about a referendum. The point is that we must recognize that we have a rogue constitution, and it is the rogue constitution that is the source of all the problem we have in this country. And no matter what you say on any subject, unless we resolve the issue of the constitution, however you try to solve any of the problems, whether it is state creation or revenue or restructuring, everything falls face flat. I'll give you a simple and practical example. The biggest favor you can do to Bola Tinubu today is to say, everybody go and ask your governors how they are spending their money. Am I right? He will be glad if we all move down to our states to start asking our governors how they are using our money. But why do you want to waste your time to go and ask the governor how they are using your money when the 1999 Constitution has granted every governor immunity and has protected him to go ahead and steal as much as he can, and that nothing will happen to him while he's in office? So every governor, based on the 1999 Constitution, is protected sufficiently to steal as much money as he can for the number of years he's in power. So within that number of years he's in power, he takes advantage of it to get their wives, to get their children, their family members to go into the judiciary.
But they're not in the office forever.
Yeah, but I know they are also working ahead. They are each promoting their children to the Judiciary, to Court of Appeal, to Supreme Court, knowing that one of the days they will be out of power. And some of them in the past who have even helped their wives to become Supreme Court justices have gotten orders of perpetual injunction restraining the EFCC from ever arresting or investigating them. And all that is being protected and sanctioned by the Constitution. So unless and until we get rid of this dubious Constitution and bring the federative units to come together, which Emeka Anyaoku has already admitted in his June 12th annual conference, and which President Bola Ahmed Tinubu knows, and that is the reason why they set up in APC, of which I was a founding leader, the Nasiru El-Rufai Committee on Restructuring, which document is available to him and every other person, and which they have refused to touch till today.
You know, whilst not trying to, and I cannot even dismiss that even if I wanted to, because we've been having very long conversations around our Constitution, you know, and a need, you know, to do away with it, or a need to keep it, as the case might be, because it was saying that there are many sides of the divide. There are those who think there is nothing wrong with this, that it is the people who are upholding it. But let me ask you, I mean, as somebody who has also sworn, or who swore at one point to uphold this Constitution, to defend this Constitution, do you find that leaders who are currently in office find themselves in a difficult spot? On the one hand, you have sworn to defend a Constitution which you call rogue. At the same time, other people are asking for a new Constitution. Do they really have that leeway? Do they really have the power to be able to say, okay, we're going to find how we'll do a new Constitution? People believe that the only way they can do it is through amendments, as has been done by the National Assembly.
So how many amendments have been done so far? 5. And every 4 years, it's a ritual. They will do another amendment. So how many more amendments will they do? They don't even have the courage to tackle the real issues about the Constitution. They run away from the real issues.
What are the real issues?
Every aspect of the problems facing us today is part of the real issue. I'll give you a simple practical example. They, in one of the years, voted to have the houses of assembly and in the different states to have autonomy. And then they required to be passed by 2/3 of members of the houses of assembly across the country. And the governors must hold the houses of assembly down to vote against themselves. And they did, that they don't want autonomy. So how do you salvage a situation as disastrous as that? The truth is that most of those who are making it impossible for us to move forward are those who are beneficiaries of the Constitution as it is today. And once they leave government, they find themselves terribly crippled. And then you see them begin to make complaints like the rest of the people.
Are you talking about the governors?
Mr. President, Mr. Governors, they have all been crippled. You see, there is this thing where people always start by saying the peace and unity of Nigeria is non-negotiable. Most of those who purport to love Nigeria more than any other people, who claim that they are patriots, when they have all been given the opportunity, have all ended up messing up Nigeria more than any other person. A good example is Buhari. With all his claims of patriotism, God given the opportunity, look at what they did to the economy.
Yeah,
today he's ashamed of himself. Look at Obasanjo, who also gives the impression that he's a great patriot, he loves Nigeria so much. Did he not try to abuse the Constitution by trying to get a third stamp through the back door? I was a member of the House of Reps then. I know what he did.
You haven't addressed this issue of the conundrum they find themselves, the paradox of the situation, whereby you have sworn to uphold something, at the same time you're actively working against it to build something else. How do you address that as somebody who is currently a political office holder?
Thank you very much. If you, at the end of work, decide to go home, and you are living in Asokoro, but you set out and tell everybody, oh, gentlemen, I'm going home, and then you find yourself in Area 1, which is not the road to Asokoro, even though you have told everybody that you're going home and your home is Asokoro, would you stop and turn back? If you swear that you're going to uphold the Constitution and find out that the Constitution is the bane of the problems facing the country, What is required is a simple honesty, simple discipline to say this constitution is faulty by every means, this constitution is illegitimate, this constitution is a rogue constitution.
No, but
we must stop.
They knew that before they swore to it. They were elected on the same constitution.
Do you think they knew before they swore to it?
They knew.
Do you think that they know? You are assuming that they know.
So
Have you been to National Assembly?
You didn't know.
I was there.
Yes, you didn't know what was in the Constitution before you swore to it. You were a lawyer, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yes.
So you didn't know what was in it before you swore to it?
Do you think I swore to it?
What did you do?
Yeah. Because people get given this and you stand in front of that place, the 360 people, and everybody is bombing just something. Is there any one-on-one swearing to the loyalty to the Constitution?
So we can't take it for granted that you swore to it?
Yes, you cannot. You cannot. And I'm telling you, you cannot. If you assume it, you are taking it for granted. Many of the people don't even know what is contained in the Constitution.
Even if we got a new one, so-called People's Constitution.
Even if we don't get a new one, we will not make any progress.
Yeah, but the point I'm making is this. You've just raised something, which is why some people think that this Constitution is not working. That everybody who is supposed to be doing what they're supposed to be doing are not doing what they're supposed to do.
No, that's not it. The Constitution has protected some people to continue to rape you. The Constitution has protected a lot of people to take advantage of your economy. The Constitution has protected a lot of people to run rough shots on you. And then you want to continue fighting. How are you going to do it?
What parts of the Constitution has...
Several aspects. Every aspect.
Has empowered people to raise the economy.
68 clauses. I have already given you one. That every money that is being given to the state governors, they take it to the bureau to change and convert it to foreign currency and move it out of the country. And if you get angry, you have to wait for them till they leave office because they have immunity by the Constitution. Tinubu has immunity, the governors have immunity. How come today that you cannot challenge a governor who you have every evidence to show that he is stealing the resources of the country?
Okay, let's quickly
go. So the Constitution is protecting them.
Let's go quickly through what it is that we heard distinguished elder statesman Chief Emeka Anyaoku ask. He talked about a national constituent assembly. He wants the president to set up a national constituent assembly, directly elected individuals, maybe about 3 per state. How are we supposed to do this? It says on a non-partisan basis, so not APC, PDP, none of those parties should be involved. How is that going to work? Just thinking about it alone, I'm wondering, how is that going to work in a country where we know that politics affects everything?
With the greatest respect to Chief Emeka Anyaoku, that is his personal opinion. And he stated it very clearly.
Isn't that the opinion of the patriots?
Well, the patriots do not constitute Nigeria. Just the patriots. As much as we respect them, it is their opinion. Where to start is, do we accept that this is a rogue constitution? Do we accept that the Nigerians didn't make it? If we have accepted that the Nigerians didn't make it, then we have to agree that we can no longer continue with the constitution. And if we agree that we can no longer continue with the constitution, we take the government as existing presently as a transition government. And then we all work out for ourselves the processes to make for ourselves a new constitution and not be bothered by the opinion of Anyaoku. Anyaoku puts his opinion on the table and other people put their opinion, and then we work out an arrangement on how the federating units will give their power. We are a country that has been governed by force of arms. That is what the military has done since they took away the last federal constitution of Nigeria, which was the 1963 constitution. Since the military came, we have all been held together and governed by sheer brute force, sheer force of arms from the military regimes to today. And that is the truth.
Let me look for some examples in Africa. Kenya, 2010, they came up with a new constitution. But we know, as we see there, they're still up, is still not, they can't see the light of day because there's protests all over the place because the president, the policies, they don't like the policies. So can it necessarily be that if we have a new constitution, we assume that things will automatically work well?
We are starting the process. The fact that it is not working out well in Kenya does not mean that it will not work out in Nigeria. What we are saying is that the present government should be seen from the angle of the Clark government in South Africa. The process of making for ourselves a new constitution should be seen from the perspective of CODESA, which got all the federative units to now profile suggestions as to what constitution we should have. And the people then should start the process of distinguishing the peoples of Nigeria and the people of Nigeria, so that in making the constitution, they are putting all their different ingredients on why and how we should remain as an entity, as the same country, or why and how we should not, or how and why we should restructure and share our resources.
You, in passing, mentioned the governors who get monies, the monies are taken out of the country, they convert it and then leave. Say they are protected by the Constitution. I mean, because they have immunity. But we have the bankers, those who are operating in those other areas. Several other persons are in that chain who are not protected by immunity whatsoever. But they still go ahead and do all of those things. The banks, you have the BOFIA, several laws and rules. But they don't comply with all of those. So why do you think that if we have a new constitution, suddenly everybody will behave well?
Because they know there are certain rules that would catch up with them easily.
But they already exist with
No,
this.
they don't exist. They
don't
all exist. Let me tell you, my brother, Chamberlain, there was a time we didn't have BVN. You could walk into any bank and open 20 different bank accounts in 20 different names and 20 different signatures and 20 different passports. You can no longer do it now because an institutional mechanism has been put in.
But you said they are still stealing
I am
money.
coming, called BVN. I have gone to each and every of these people to say, can we reduce corruption by introducing what I call PVN, property verification number, so that for every single property we have in this country, you can by press of a button know who the owner. So that all these civil servants who own estates and their salaries are about 300,000 naira will yield it, like many people yielded the accounts in the banks when this BVN was introduced. Are they interested in bringing such mechanism?
If we know the ones owned by the governors and we didn't do much, even when they leave office, why do you think we will do something when civil servants?
You see, let me make it very simple. Nothing makes people to yield grounds except when they see their economic interests are being threatened. All these bankers who have been involved in helping to steal our money one way or the other, the day they feel that their economic interests are threatened, they will quickly yield grounds and say, look, let's start doing it right because the house will collapse on everybody. That is how the apartheid regime failed. It wasn't just the struggle of ANC and all the other anti-apartheid agencies. But when the business interests in South Africa found out that the house was about to crumble, like it is about to crumble in Nigeria, because there are too many non-state actors taking control of different parts of the country. Whether it's in the north through the bandits and Boko Haram, whether it is on Donghomin in the south, southeast, or the militants in the Niger Delta. Have you ever imagined a worst case scenario if these people manage to come together and work as a team? They will sack the entire country. It has never occurred to you. So we have to act and act fast. The house is collapsing because...
my colleague has questions for you, so in addition to your response, so go ahead, please.
Thank you, Chamberlain. Well, let me, first begin by asking you whether or not you are trying to cut the state governments and state governors some slack. Because, I mean, as you said the other time, they have immunity, yes. I mean, if they didn't have immunity, almost everyone, there are those who have said that almost everyone in the state who is not happy with the face of the governor, whose political ideologies are different, will be, looking for every court case to distract them from the purpose of governance. But now they are part of the Constitution. They have immunity. But then they collect humongous amount of money from the states, from the Federation, every month. So should we be cutting them some slack, focusing only on the federal government and not calling out the governors and the various commissioners to do what they are supposed to do in the interest of the people?
Why do you want to waste your time calling out the state governors when you know they have been protected by the Constitution? Why don't you go out after the Constitution that's given them the immunity to continue to do what
that
they
it
are
is
doing?
pointless to give the governors money. Just a second. Are you saying that it's pointless to give the governors money simply because they are insulated? Are you saying that the federation account should close up so they don't get money simply because they have immunity?
The federation account can't stop giving them the money. They will continue to give them the money. They have no choice. And the governors will continue to steal it because they know there's nothing you can do. And they steal it for the 4 years or 8 years they're in power. And within the period, they will cause their wives and their sisters and their cronies to be put in the High Court, the Court of Appeal, and the Supreme Court, waiting to protect them when they're out of power. This is very simple and easy to understand. But let me even put it to you this way. Today, we have seen how President Tinubu is fighting for the autonomy of the local governments because he has seen the burden he's facing in Abuja. Everybody is coming after him. But let's wind the clock back to 1999 and 2007 when he was the governor of Lagos State. When he was the governor of Lagos State, he abused the Constitution by going on his own to create local governments in Lagos State. Assuming that he is still the governor in Lagos today, and this new process is pushing, causes money to be sent to the local governments that are recognized under the Constitution by virtue of the 774 local governments. Who will take the money, who will use the money, and who will account for it? There is too much hypocrisy in the way we are functioning, because he's trying to portray himself now as a champion of local government autonomy, when in his own days as governor of Lagos State from 1999 to 2007, what he did was to abuse the Constitution the way he liked and to manage the resources of the local government in Lagos State the way he deemed fit, in contravention of the Constitution.
Was there any time, anyway, the argument for a new constitution, there are those who would wonder whether or not the people who drafted the so-called rogue constitution are not Nigerians themselves. I recall, for instance, it was in October 1975 the Murtala Mohammed government at the time came up with the Constituent-Assembly. More than 200 Nigerians were either appointed or selected, or whichever way. They came into a particular room to draft the 1979 Constitution, which we used for the Second Republic. In this, the current one that we are using, I'm pretty sure that the people who drafted it must have had some level of legal, background themselves. So is it that it was because the military came up with it that it was rogue, or that it wasn't? What exactly was the issue with it? Its formation, its writing, the authorship of that constitution.
No, sir. The problem is that they did not represent the federating units that make up the Constitution. And when they start with that preamble, we the people, it is a wrong claim, an aberration, because they didn't have the authority of the people to say so. Rotimi Williams and the rest of them who made the 1979 Constitution, if they wrote we the people, they knew they didn't represent the people. Did they represent the Ogonis? Did they represent the Agas? Did they represent the Galas? Did they go there as representatives of the Jaws or the thieves or the Domas? They just went there because they were seen to have been brilliant lawyers. Constitutions are not made by virtue of you being a brilliant lawyer or the chairman of Bar Association or being somebody who is called an elder statesman. Constitutions are made by the owners of the country. That is the federating units, which are represented by the different ethnic people who own all the land that will be added together to form the country that you have called Nigeria. That has not been done. Nobody has the mandate. Nobody can say that since after 1963 that he went to the Constituent-Assembly or Constitutional Conference representing the Yorubas or the Igbos or the Hausas or the Jukuns or the Galas or the thieves. So you don't go out and pick your friends because you think that they are brilliant in law. It's not all about brilliance in the law. The requirement is that it must be made by the people. We the people, and we, the people, never met the constitution. That's why we call it an illegitimate constitution, a rogue constitution. And the earlier we wake up to it and throw it away and start a new process which requires some discipline, we are only, if we don't do that, we're only extending the doomsday, because all the crises we have today will continue to multiply, and they will get to a situation where we end up with anarchy.
When you list these minority and majority groups, whichever way we want to call them, the Jukums, the thieves, and the rest of them that you have listed, every single one of these peoples in the nation, they are from a particular local government. And these local governments are clustered inside the states. And I don't know how you want to propose that we'll come up with this representation from these communities without coming through the state government. So I go back to the fact that whether or not we are not cutting the governors some slack, because they have a responsibility to these people that you've talked about. The thieves, the Jukums, the Ijaws, the Ogonis, the governors have a responsibility to them in their various communities. So aren't we cutting them some slack? Aren't they also responsible for good governance for their people, whether or not they have the constitution, they have the immunity in the constitution?
Can you honestly say that the governors represent those people? Take, for example, Benue State, where you have the thieves and the Idomas. And the thieves have made sure that no Idoma man has become governor of that state. The Idomas are feeling like slaves, they are feeling like outsiders, they are feeling like their voices are not heard, and nothing is being done because they are being suffocated by a majority ethnic group. Let's look at the issue of Gwaris, who own FCT. The Gwaris have been scattered across 3 or 4 states. They are in FCT, they are in Niger State, they are in Kaduna State, and they are in some other states that I cannot here remember. And how do you capture their voice if you have broken them into all these places? Now, considering the manner of elections we have had in the country, can you honestly say that those who are beneficiaries of the last election are true representatives of the people? Because INEC, as it is presently constituted, is a rogue INEC. They declare all manner of results and announce it, and the heavens don't fall. And they know that that is what will happen. And you get angry, they are the first to say, you go to court. Because they know the judiciary is already heavily compromised.
So are you saying we'll have a rogue judiciary too?
Yes, of course. I'm saying so. As a lawyer of 31 years standing, I am saying that what we have today, starting from the Supreme Court to the lowest court, is a rogue judiciary.
But you're painting everybody with one brush. There are several of them there who are doing their level.
Have they stood up to be counted?
How should they stand up?
From their judgments, have they distinguished themselves?
No,
we had opportunity.
Are you talking about
we had
political cases?
No.
All of them?
In several of the cases, there was in commercial cases. When Buhari in 2003 went to challenge the election petition, Justice Silvanus Nsofo looked at the decision of the Court of Appeal and felt that he had to disagree. He wrote a dissenting judgment that is bigger than the judgment of his panel. And what was his conclusion? That he states without equivocation that what Nigerians had in 2003 was anything but an election. And that is not what they deserve. And he makes bold to say that the election of Chief Olusegun Obasanjo is illegal, null, void, and of no effect, and it is hereby struck down. He made that pronouncement as a dissenting judgment, and that stopped him from being promoted to the Supreme Court. And after that, many years after, Buhari, appreciating that effort, sent him to become the Nigerian ambassador to the United States. He is the old guy who was made ambassador at very old age, and everybody was asking
why. Yes, part of the judiciary.
Yes, it's because he had the courage to dissent. But today, the judiciary has become catch and carry. Are you following what Chedo Dekali has been exposing about the judiciary? What is being done to correct each and every one of them? Nothing. And are you not seeing all the governors and ministers who are promoting their daughters to the High Court, Federal High Court, Court of Appeal, and Supreme Court?
Well, we're out of time. We can't explore this any further, but we have to thank you for coming on. Mr. Uche Onyeagocha is also a former member of the House of Reps. He was there from 2003 to 2007, a human rights and pro-democracy lawyer, also former Imo State's government's secretary to the state government. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you very much.